Minister. Now, thank you, Deputy Funchion. Sorry about that delay. Thank you, Minister.
Thanks very much, Chair, and thanks, Minister. So the issue is in relation to adult day services in the disability sector and transport, in particular two regions in the southeast. So there's a service, Cummas in New Ross in Wexford, and then the SOS in Kilkenny. I'll start with the SOS. That's one particular situation or case that has come to my attention where there was transport for a particular individual prior to COVID. Now that it's reopened, this person is on just 2 days a week. But the issue is the transport. So the transport is no longer available or doesn't seem to be accessible for this family. The situation is an elderly mother driving her daughter to the day service, and it's actually daily an 80-kilometre trip for her to do that. Now, obviously, she wants to keep her daughter in the service and it's very valuable to her, but realistically, it's not going to be possible for her to keep up with that level of, I suppose, driving on a daily basis. So, Minister, I'm asking if you will specifically look into this case, if I send you on the details in relation to that one. And then the issue with Cummas in New Ross is there was issues that I think you might be aware of regarding transport. And I do believe that some funding was announced recently about that. But maybe if you could just confirm exactly what that funding was for, how much that funding was, and also if you would consider meeting with parents of people who use that service. I know the way things are with COVID now, but even an online meeting to discuss the situation with them, I know that they would certainly definitely welcome that. Since COVID has happened, they have sort of a bit of an active parents committee. They've gotten together over lots of issues. And I suppose one thing that we've all learned from COVID is how we can manage situations for into the future better and forward planning, and that there isn't this sort of kind of what are we going to do approach when something does unforeseen happen. So I suppose just in relation to Cummas, if you can confirm what the funding was, what it was for, and if you would be willing to chat to those parents, they would definitely welcome that. And then in relation to the SOS in Kilkenny, that one particular case, that individual case that I can pass on to you. Thanks.
Minister.
Thank you, Chair. And yet again, I want to apologise for my delay in getting here. Thank you, Deputy Funchion, for raising this issue today. And in relation to the case in SOS, I have no problem at all in taking that particular representation from you and talking to you about this. But I do want to thank you for raising the important issue and giving me the opportunity to outline the position in relation to the resumption of adult day services and transport in CHO5 area of South Tipperary, Carlow, Kilkenny, Waterford and Wexford. Adult day services reopened throughout August and early September at approximately 39% capacity, and I have secured, as you are well aware, the funding to increase the day services by an average of 1 day a week for over 14,000 adult day service users. Some service providers are now working so that the services operate safely and in line with the public health guidelines. This has led to a reduced capacity in day services due to the need for social distancing, the physical limitations of buildings and the lack of mainstream community activities currently available. The public health guidelines, which was developed to underpin the safe reopening of the adult day services, has also had an impact on the transport to day services. Although the HSE has no statutory obligation to provide transport services, some transport supports are provided by the HSE or funded through agencies on a discretionary basis. This can include services themselves providing transport and local transport such as Local Link. And generally, disability service users are in receipt of a disability allowance and are automatically entitled to the free pass. Now that the day services have reopened, the availability of the safe transport is essential. However, reduced capacity on vehicles means more journeys are needed and in the form of service locations for these needed. As the service has resumed, transport providers have had to demonstrate that their transport service can be provided as safely as possible and strictly within social distancing. In relation to the area you have raised, which is Cummas services in New Ross, which I visited recent months ago, and I met with the providers, with Deputy James Brown and Senator Malcolm Byrne, the transport issue, and they've raised, no more than your good self here today, raising the issue in relation to the transport. I'm glad to confirm that they were allocated, CAMAS were allocated €147,652 at the end of November to address the transport issues that were raised with me in September. And this will be allocated in December payment to the provider. This is a once-off additional funding for transport has been provided from within the current budget for disability services and from additional monies I secured in September to support the resumption of services. Finally, I do understand the issue of that individual case again, Deputy Funchion. I have no problem in working with you on it. In relation to asking me would I meet with the families, of course I will meet with the families. I would be more than happy to attend a Zoom call along with other Oireachtas colleagues as well who would like to be on it. I think it's also an important opportunity as well that maybe yourself and other Oireachtas members down there, that we meet with the CHO5 to understand the funding allocation, to understand the rollout, to understand the support that they will give to service providers going into the new year, that we can have a sustainable resumption of services, but also the proper link, which is the transport piece, to assure the families that that connectivity that they require is in place, particularly in light of the fact that there's 145,000 laid aside there for transport.
Thank you, Minister. Now, Deputy Funchion.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks, Minister. I really genuinely welcome that response. I think you've been very honest and very sincere. And I'm glad that you would be willing to meet with the parents in that area. They would be absolutely delighted with that, and it's an excellent suggestion around meeting with the CHO5. I couldn't agree with that more, because it does sort of bring them into it, and in terms of accountability as well for them, I think that might be no harm. I do understand with COVID, you know, the restrictions and how difficult it has been and getting services resumed, but I suppose for a lot of families with either children with disabilities or as children get older and they're going into day services, or adult services I should say, people are, I suppose, looking at the school situation and how it's been great that we've been able to reopen the schools and resume them. But, you know, people are kind of looking at that and saying, if we can get it right in that sector, then why can't we get it right in other sectors? So, look, I do think I'll pass on the details of that individual case and follow up directly with you on that one. I appreciate that. And it would be great to have to organise that meeting and include CHO5 officials. So I'm happy with that. Thanks very much, Minister.
Yeah. Thank you, Deputy Funchion.
Minister. Deputy Funchion, which I couldn't get in the first part, I have a little bit more information. Since being appointed Minister for Disabilities, I have, as you know, I have visited that particular area thanks to my Oireachtas colleagues, and I also met with Deputy Keogh when I was down there as well at the time. They have been continuously campaigning in relation to the areas you have brought up here today, and that is in relation to the transport and the vastness of the area and the need for it. So much so, I have actually met also with Minister Ryan on this particular issue and his department officials. And I made that meeting on the basis of what Minister Malcolm Noonan presented to me of what is a very well-run local link service in that particular area. And as part of Connecting Ireland, we are now looking at one of the first models that we will be rolling out will be in that particular area because of the good services that are there already in relation to the local link. It has still been put through its paces to see exactly where it will sit and how it will run and how it will be functioning. But when you start with one of the better models, of which we have there is in the Carlow area, and we would be hoping to expand it out into other areas and to include disability services. One thing's for certain, while you have a great local link, we have, Chair, right across the country, a very good local link. Local link is 85% suitable for persons with disability to use it. We now need to ensure that a person with a disability can actually get on the local link. And that's a piece that might have been missing in the past. So the fact that we have a very good local link there, we're looking at delivering it out to include areas of disability.